Like to reconvene our board meeting for today, October 8th. Roll call, please.
Mr. Valencia is here. Okay, yes. Mr. Hollinshead is absent this evening. Can you hear me? Mr. Laura?
Here.
Ms. Cabral is absent this evening. And Mrs. Cordero?
Here. Thank you. Our report out from closed session, Dr. McDuffie, would you like to begin, please?
Thank you, Board President Cordero. The Board of Education accepted the administrative appointment of Karen Sperling, principal for Bonita Elementary. The roll call vote was unanimous. That's all I have.
Thank you. For items B and C, information was shared, as well as for item D, information was shared. Our interpreters this evening are Benito Flores and Manuel Rios Victoria, and our greeters and support is being provided by Benji Alfaro and Maria Cortez. We have the Miller School Mustangs here tonight to lead us in our pledge and to share inspiration with us. So with that, please stand.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Blackburn, and I'm honored to be the principal at Miller Elementary, home of the Mustangs. Thank you for having us this evening. Santa Maria Bonita's belief that all people belong, have a voice, and can contribute is strong at Miller Elementary. I have the privilege of working with amazing Mustangs, students and adults, and tonight I would love for you to meet just a few of the students who will share with you how they show their sense of belonging and use their voice. I'd like to introduce to you Danya, Vicky, Christopher, and Robert.
Hello, I am Vicky Chavez. We are the members of the Principal Advisory Council. We like to go by PAC. We get to use our student voice in so many ways, and we feel heard by our peers and the adults on campus. We have the opportunity to spread positivity as well as address issues where we want to see positive change. We learn a lot about ourselves and others through the Positivity Project. Every week we learn about a new positive character trait that every person has. We use this language to talk about positive change on campus, and students receive character awards for displaying these qualities. Last week we learned about open-mindedness, as you will hear more about later, and this week we focus on having an other people mindset, because together we are better.
My name is Robert Long, and I have been a member of PAC since 4th grade. 2 years ago, we saw a problem with profanity and wanted to fix it. Even though the problem existed outside of school too, we knew we could create a positive change at Miller. PAC worked together to do a presentation to all the students in grades 1 through 6 so they would learn that this was a problem on campus. We wanted to educate students on the impact bad words can have on people's feelings, and we gave them positive words that would change this behavior.
I am Danya Sadiq. Last year, we identified a problem with people making fun of the physical shape of other students. We addressed this problem by creating slide deck presentations about how to make healthy choices and to treat others with kindness and respect. Here you can see some of the slides shared with each classroom. We chose We chose to address the classroom, so we had a small focused group to share with. One of the most important points we wanted to share with kids was that when we see something, we must say something. We want to model the positive actions and words we want to see and hear from everyone.
My name is Christopher Castillo. Another way Miller Mustangs have a positive voice and have a sense of belonging is through all the opportunities we have during the school day and in after school activities. To make sure we have a positive outlook on our learning, our teachers help students make goals and track their progress. We are excited that our goals are not only about reading, writing, and math. Students make goals about being better at arts, sports, and learning other languages, including becoming better at their primary language. The activities we have after school come from students sharing their ideas and goals. For example, we have an after school gardening club and visual arts class, along with all of our athletic teams.
Our student voice is represented best by our Miller News, which is produced and shared with the whole school every week.
This is a listening and speaking class that allows for all students to have a voice, especially our students who are multilingual learners.
Students are the creators of the Miller News and the stars of the Miller News. We're actually excited to share just a small clip from a recent episode of the Miller News.
This clip shares how students present from the news desk, how students express themselves through movement, and shares a question of the week that ties back to the Positivity Project. Thank you for having us this evening. Enjoy this clip.
Hello, and welcome back to the Miller News. It's Friday, October 3rd, and we're excited to bring the latest news to you. I'm Lexi.
Oh, sorry guys, I was just catching up on the Miller new Instagram account. It has all the cool events that are happening here at our school. Take a look.
Oh yeah, you definitely want to follow her on Instagram, but remember, phone should be off and in your backpack until you leave the gate.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Genesis. We are live in the media room this morning, bringing the latest news to your own very classroom.
This week, we are practicing being open-minded with Positivity Project. Let's see what new things our Miller Mustangs are trying this fall season. Oh wait, one moment. I just got word. We have an exclusive viewing just for you. This is breaking news. You won't want to miss this. An ultimate dance-off happening now.
Ready.
오빤 강남스타일 강남스타일 낮에는 따사로운 인간적인 여자 커피 한 잔에 여유를 아는 품격 있는 여자 밤이 오면 심장이 뜨거워지는 여자 그런 반전 있는 여자 선어해 낮에는 너만큼 따사로운 저 선어해 커피 식기도 전에 마시는 선어해 밤이 오면 심장이 터져버리는 선어해 그런 선어해 아름다워 사랑스러워 그래 너 그래 바로 너 아름다워 사랑스러워 그래 너 그래 바로 너
Can you keep an open mind and try something new this fall? If so, what will you try?
I'll try to learn how to ride a skateboard by practicing every weekend. One thing I want to do this fall is learning how to do better at math by doing flashcards.
I would like to try apple pie for this fall season to stay open-minded because I never actually tried apple pie.
A glazed donut. I've never had glazed donut. Thank you.
Try strawberry cupcakes.
I would try vegetables. If you can try something new and keep an open mind this fall, what will you try?
I want to try going to the corn maze because I went to the corn maze and I saw there was like
memories that I just read. It was like we took a picture of it that we just copy what we do. Open mind this fall and try something new this fall? If so, what would you try? I would try the corn maze.
I think I would try chocolate covered crickets.
This fall season, I will try pumpkin pie or apple pie. Thank you.
Can you keep an open mind and try something new this fall? If so, what will you try?
I would try carne asada.
It looks like our Miller Mustangs have some good moves.
Yeah, talking about trying new things makes me want to learn some dance moves.
Thank you again for having us this evening.
Thank you so very, very much. I must say, I had some time before we started tonight, and I was looking at your board over there and looking at all of the characteristics of your positivity,
Project.
whatever
Project.
process. Anyway, I'm very impressed. Those are all very, very human and necessary characteristics that we all need to have and to show so that we can make our world better all in every aspect. So if you can embody all of those, you will be very successful. So thank you very much for that. Mr. Valencia.
Yeah, I really want to appreciate you all for being here. Y'all, a reminder of why we're here, right? And so I really wanted to highlight some of the things I heard you talk about. You talked about together we are better. I heard you say that it's important for us to be mindful of our profanity and how that impacts others. You talked about modeling with action, and I just want to, among many other things. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank your families for bringing you here. I want to thank our school staff for preparing you and developing your leadership. I want to tell you all straight out, what you all are doing is way better than many of the adults in politics these days right now as we speak. And so I really want to thank you because I have the privilege of working with high school students and young people and adults, and you all are truly modeling for us what leadership really looks like. So thank you. You give us hope, and I would love to take a picture with you all and your families before you all leave, if that's okay with you. Let's do it.
Another round of applause. And thank you once again to parents that make the effort to bring their children to events like this. We do appreciate it. It's what makes it worthwhile. Item 8, public comment period. Dr. McDuffie, do we have comments on agenda items?
Yes, we do. We have one comment on the agenda item or on agenda item 12A, culturally responsive curriculum. Yvonne Duran.
My name is Yvonne, and I teach at Robert Bruce.
Hold up, Yvonne.
Start over. Can you start my time over? Thanks. My name is Yvonne Duran, and I teach at Robert Bruce. I fully support a culturally responsive curricula, and I appreciate that the Santa Maria Bonita School District is committed to providing a culturally and linguistically responsive curriculum that affirms student identity, builds on community strengths, and supports academic achievement. However, many teachers in our district would disagree with the district's assertion that our current curricula offer intentional opportunities for students to see themselves represented and to connect learning to their cultural and linguistic experiences. Specifically, Benchmark Advance is not culturally responsive. In 2022, I informally reviewed Benchmark for bias. I counted characters and authors, their genders and ethnicities. The ratio of males to females was 3-1, which was disappointing, but not nearly so as the ratio of white characters to Latino characters, which was 20-1. Considering the majority of our students are of Latino ethnic background, that is not culturally responsive. I began supplementing Benchmark with picture books that I purchased to represent people of various ethnic and linguistic backgrounds, and I later shared that list with the multilingual department when they were looking to supplement classroom libraries. As a student in the district-sponsored Masters in Reading and Literacy program through CSUF, cultural and linguistic responsiveness and sustainability has been a lens for all aspects of our learning. According to a current Ed Reports publication, evaluating materials for culturally responsive practices, a review of curricula for cultural responsiveness requires time, a team, and a systematic and methodological approach with informed involvement from stakeholders. Regarding an investigation and assertion of our district curriculum as culturally responsive, I pose these questions. What definition of cultural responsiveness was or will be used? What assessment tool or scorecard was or will be used? What curricular evidence will be collected? Have or will the findings be made available to the public? Which committee conducted or will conduct this review? Were or will classroom teachers, parents, students, and community members be included? How was or how will cultural and linguistic diversity among these committee members be ensured? To reiterate, I fully support a curriculum that is culturally and linguistically responsive for our students here in Santa Maria. I would like to see the district follow the belief that all people belong, have a voice, and can contribute in investigating and asserting that we have a culturally responsive curriculum. That would be the first step in being culturally responsive. Thank you for your consideration in this matter.
And do we have any comments for non-agenda items?
Yeah, yes, we do. We'll start with Jessica Rubalcaba. And then after Jessica Rubalcaba, we'll have Jessica Morris. For you to be ready.
Okay. Good evening, members of the board, administrators, and community. My name is Jessica Ruvalcaba, and I am a teacher and a parent at Jimenez Elementary, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I am here to speak regarding the number or the class sizes for our youngest learners at Jimenez. As you are aware, we are the biggest school in the district, and we are still at a half-day program for our TK and kindergarten classes. We have 4 TK classes, capping at 24 students, and we have 4 kinder classes, with all 4 classes having 32 students in them. And it is nearly impossible for me as a teacher to be able to provide the adequate support for all of my learners. Within the last couple of years, our littlest learners are coming in with such high needs in their social, emotional, and behavior. They have so many needs. So it is making it extremely challenging, almost impossible to provide all of these supports for all of these 32 to 24 students, 32 in kinder and 24 per each of the classes at Jimenez. So I am here to urge you as the board to consider, if possible, I don't know how, because we are at capacity at Jimenez with every single room being used, to open up an additional TK class to help lower our numbers, open an additional kindergarten class to open our numbers. How our 32 and 24 students per class at a halfway program how is that equitable across our district? We are still only, I don't know of any other school in our district with such high numbers. And as a parent, also carrying both hats, as a parent, it makes me wonder, how come is it that schools that are nearly 3 miles from us how is it that their TK classes are at below 20 students? How is it that Battles has 14 students per TK class? And how is it that kinder classes are at less than 28 students at every other school or nearly every other school? So I would like to invite you to come to my class and observe and experience what it's like to try to meet all of the 32 students' needs in my classroom. And I would also highly encourage you to revisit all of these numbers for all of our TK and kindergarten classrooms in every school in our district and ask yourselves, how are we drawing our boundary lines? How is it that we are coming up with such high numbers at Jimenez and not all of the other schools? Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Good evening, Dr. McDuffie, members of the board, and San Maria Bonita familia. I am here this evening with my team to share with you Ontiveros School's CASP data from the past 3 years. I wanted to take this opportunity to share our results because at the last board meeting, Ontiveros was not mentioned in the celebration as being an outlier. The students and teachers at our school work incredibly hard, and I believe it's important that their dedication and achievements are recognized and celebrated. I am deeply passionate about teaching and student success, and I have had the privilege of working alongside colleagues who share that same commitment and students. Together, we focus on student growth, collaboration, and continuous improvement. The progress that you will see in the data reflects our hard work, our intentional planning, and our high expectations that guide everything we do at Ontiveros. If it would be okay, Genesis Lazaro is our leader and liaison for our school. She has data to give to each of you. Thank you, Genesis. In an effective PLC and an effective district, it is imperative that we value and celebrate successes across all schools. Recognizing these accomplishments not only honors the efforts of students and staff, but also inspires continued growth across our district. I am proud of the consistent success Ontiveros has achieved, and I welcome any questions about how we have reached and sustained these results. We thank you for the time and your support and for allowing me to highlight the incredible work happening at Ontiveros that you see in front of you. In front of you, you will see for the past 3 years, the state, the district, Ontiveros, and then also I wanted to mention the dual immersion because they were highlighted as outscoring other schools in the district. So I wanted to highlight that as well in the data. As you can see in our data, we have outscored the state average for students proficient and advanced for the past 3 years in mathematics, and we're very proud of our students for that. We've outscored the district average by almost 20% in mathematics over the past 3 years. And in language arts, we are near the state average, and we have outscored the district by nearly 20% in all 3 areas. So we want to thank you for the time to highlight our successes at Ontiveros. And I know that in the executive summary that you were given from Lori Grock before the last meeting, some of these, all this information is highlighted, but I did want to be sure to compliment my colleagues and the students that are working so hard at Ontiveros. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
We have Catherine Grossi, and then Patrick Flatley.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Catherine Gross, and I'm here tonight as both a concerned parent and community member to address an issue that has reached a breaking point: safety in our schools. I've been a lifelong supporter of public education. I attended public schools from kindergarten through high school, including Tunnel, which holds a special place in my heart. When it came time to enroll my son, I didn't hesitate. I believed he'd find the same safe and nurturing environment that shaped me. It was at Tunnel that I learned about civic responsibility, that if you want a positive community, you help build it. For the past 2 years, I've volunteered, donated, and supported our school in every way possible. You can imagine my horror when I learned that another student had tried to stab my 6-year-old son in the back with a pencil. Even worse, I found out not from the school, but from my son after I picked him up. When I confirmed it with his teacher, we wanted answers. The assistant principal only reached out after I contacted the district for a meeting. During our conversation, she changed her story several times, first saying a pencil was thrown, then that the student had been removed from class, and later that she had checked on my son at the end of the day. When I asked why I was never notified, she had no clear explanation. My concerns were dismissed as heightened emotions. I was told my account was inflammatory and that the event never happened. But if nothing happened, why was my son checked on? Why was the other student removed from class? None of it added up. Throughout our meeting, inclusion and progressive discipline were mentioned again and again. But progressive discipline is not a forgive and forget method. It only works if it's being implemented correctly. And inclusion policies were never meant to excuse or conceal violent behavior. They exist to ensure equity, not to endanger students and staff. I wholeheartedly believe in inclusion, but inclusion cannot come at the expense of safety. Over the past couple years, there's been a clear pattern of violent and disruptive behavior from the same student, behavior that's escalating, not isolated. Even more concerning is the lack of transparency. Parents and teachers are told everything is being handled, yet the same student returns to class the next day. That's not transparency, it's damage control. We can't pretend every student can safely remain in every classroom without proper support, staffing, and behavior intervention. Inclusion without accountability isn't compassion, it's negligence. I want my son to be able to return to school, to the school I love and believe in, but I also need to know he's safe. We heard back from the district 2 days ago, but hiding sharp objects and adding another wellness coach to a classroom is not a viable solution. My son's exclusion for 2 weeks because of one student's inclusion is unacceptable. It fails not only him, but the entire class, including the child experiencing difficulties and the teachers trying to hold things together. I'm asking the board to demand transparency and accountability, require timely, honest incident reporting, communicate clearly with families, and ensure that students with escalating behavior get real intervention, not a quiet return to the same classroom where harm occurred. We all want what's best for our kids, every kid. But protecting a few at the expense of the many is not equity, it's failure. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Peter Flatley.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Patrick Flatley. I have a son that attends Tunnel School, and I'm also here today to refer to this inclusion policy and some of the policies that follow that in our school. My child had an incident that happened, and as Catherine stated, it was heartbreaking to find out through him. And then to go to a school administrator who I've been trained and taught to trust, for them to gaslight us into thinking that the situation is not as important as it is, and we're blowing it out of proportion, and all the other things that followed really was upsetting. I'm grateful that I was able to contact your district and speak to somebody, as well as Dr. McDuffie as well, and that you guys provide resources for this. My purpose today is to ask for some kind of reform of these policies, somebody to look at these policies and see where the flaws last, because I truly believe in this inclusion. I believe that every kid has a right to education and equality in school, but at what point does the inclusion matter more than the safety of all the other children in the school? I've had several people reach out to me since I posted something on social media, sharing all of their stories with me. And just like us, we thought we were the odd ones out, that this was just a one-time deal. And talking with these people, this is a regular occurrence. There's several people. I've had 147 other parents reach out to me and share within this last 2 years of education at that specific school that they've had incidences where their children were harmed, bullied, threatened, picked on. An administrator or a teacher was notified of this. The teacher goes to the administration just for it to get swept under a rug. I mean, I understand that nobody wants their school to look like there's a bunch of violence or problems. And I don't say this lightly. We all saw what happened at Rigetti High School just recently. Where do we think this stems from? When our children go to the people that they're supposed to trust and rely on at school to protect them, they go to them and they get empty promises and things get repeated and they take it upon themselves. I don't want my child to be a statistic. I don't want to have this be a reoccurring problem. I'm begging you to help. I don't know what the solution is, but I have faith in you being the school board that you guys can come up with a solution and implement it in our schools. And I just really want to thank you for your time.
And we have Jennifer Ellsworth and then Cheryl Austin after her.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Ellsworth. I am a former SMBSD student. I am a former parent of 3 awesome SMBSD graduates, a parent volunteer, and I am a current CSEA employee. I'm sure you've heard about CSEA's ongoing negotiations with the district. The members of Chapter 129 are disheartened with the lack of progress we've made to come to an agreement over last year's negotiations. We haven't even begun this year's. And we are asking you, the school board, to learn about how we're progressing on our ongoing agreement. As we go into a mutually agreed upon impasse, we hope that you take some time to ask pertinent questions of management. Number one, do you value the contribution classified staff make? Number two, are you supportive of the work classified staff does? And number three, how can we demonstrate classified are an important part of our education team? I'm so proud of the parents who spoke tonight. Those are the parents that we are supporting, but right now we're supporting it with a lack of feeling like we belong, a lack of feeling respect, and a lack of feeling like we can make a positive contribution, because that is how we are feeling per a survey that we did last spring from our management team. If you haven't seen the recent article in the Santa Maria Sun, which describes our staff frustration, please get a copy. There are some at the front reception desk here in the building. We would love for you to see it and review it and hear the voices of our SMBSD employees. We love our students, we love our coworkers, and we love our jobs. Many of us have been here for multiple years. I've been here for 18, and I want to continue being here. If you look at my lifespan, 45 years of my life have been spent in the hallways of this school district. But we do want to feel like we are making a contribution, and we do want to feel like we belong. It can't be just something we say. It needs to be something that we do. And that starts with the board getting involved with what's going on today. Thank you.
Good evening, board. I'm here again. And I'd like to say thank you to both the unions for being here to support. I just don't understand what's going on with the board and the administration. You keep telling us that you don't have any money to give us more than a 1% raise. But since I've been coming to the board meetings, you have hired 5 new supervisors when we've only ever had 2, and they're making between $99,500 to $110,000 each. We've bought new cars for them to drive around in. That includes we have to pay tags, insurance, and maintenance on these cars. And then the last board meeting that I didn't come to, you guys promoted some of the people to be directors and get more raises. So, wait, and then if you did this in your home or your companies, you guys would be in big time trouble. You would go broke, or you would lose everything you had if you did this kind of accounting. But truthfully, yours is, if you guys had this reversed and we were acting this way to you and you were getting acted like this, how would you guys feel? Truthfully, would you be happy? Would you feel respected? Would you feel like you needed, that you were needed? No, you feel like, oh, it doesn't matter. And that's how we are feeling. I've been up here and asking you guys, please come to the schools and check out what's really going on. Check out what they're doing and what kids are feeling and what the classified are feeling. And the teachers aren't happy either. But you don't hear that, you don't see that. We come and tell you and you just don't listen to us. And that's how I feel. I feel like I'm telling you this over and over and you're just not paying attention. But the sad thing, well, it's not a sad thing, it's a good thing for us. Parents and taxpayers are starting to see this. All you have to do is look at the Sun in our interview with that. And when it comes time to vote, I'm really disappointed in you guys. We voted you in and you act like you don't even acknowledge us at all. And it's got to stop. And believe me, it's going to. Thank you.
all the public, it's all the public comment we have. It's the last one.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, we need to have approval of the agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
And I'll second.
It has been moved by Mr. Lara, seconded by Mr. Valencia to approve the agenda as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Valencia?
Aye.
Mr. Lara? Mrs. Cordero?
Aye. Item 10, consent items. Actions proposed for the consent agenda are consistent with adopted policies and approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. They will be acted upon by roll call vote in one motion without discussion unless members of the board request an item's removal from the consent agenda, in which event it will be taken up in the order indicated on the main agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
It has been moved by Mr. Valencia to approve the consent agenda as presented and seconded by Mr. Lara. Roll call, please.
Mr. Valencia?
Aye.
Mr. Lara? Mrs. Cordero?
Aye. Item 11, action items. Appointment of Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Mr. Beecher.
Thank you very much, President Cordero. This is an item that we kind of started our conversation earlier in the year in approving the current slate of our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Mr. Dave Cross, Zoraida Norato White, Gregory Follett, and Roxana Valdez Calderon. We've had a couple of meetings so far. The committee has kind of set up its leadership. And during this process, Ms. Nielsen expressed an interest in also participating in the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. You may recognize the name. She was an academic dean at Alton Hancock College. So she has experience in our community in higher education. And she's actually a friend of or the wife of a friend of mine. And so in conversation with my friend, he shared with her that this was happening. She saw the news about passing Measure K and needing members for the committee, and she asked if she could be a part of the experience. And I think anytime we can bring another set of eyes into this setting, it's a good thing. She's a member at large. She doesn't meet any of the specific requirements that we still need to have in the committee. A senior citizens organization member, a bona fide taxpayer organization member, and a parent or guardian of a student in the district who is active in a parent-teacher organization. We'd love to have those positions filled as well. But in the meantime, we'll welcome anyone who wants to participate. As long as it doesn't become unwieldy so far, that's not a problem. But Ms. Nielsen has experience, like I said, in leading in an educational institution, and I request the board's consideration and approval of her membership on the committee.
Any questions?
These are quarterly meetings, right?
Correct. So we meet quarterly. We've established a calendar. We have a meeting coming up next Wednesday here at the Sousa Center. I believe it's at 5 o'clock. And so we'll meet at that time. We'll start to discuss some of the expenditures that are occurring. I do want to mention Ms. Nielsen does not live in the Santa Maria Bonita School District boundary. It's not a requirement that you be living within the boundaries. It's perfectly acceptable. And like I said, she expressed an interest, and we'd love to have her participate in this committee of transparency and communication for the community.
No questions for me.
Is there a motion?
I'll motion that the Board of Education approve the slate of members for the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee as presented.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Valencia and seconded by Mr. Laura to approve the slate of members for the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11B, approval of contract with Renaissance Learning. Mr. Reiki.
Good evening.
I'm thankfully joined this evening by Lori Grock, who's been very involved in this entire project. As you know, Lori has lots of hats. One of those is her role supporting assessment accountability. And so this work very much speaks to that. And of course, my role with the technology is a project we've been working on together. So that's why you get both of us up here tonight. But you need that. You need that. There we go. One day I'll clone myself. So this evening, what we're bringing forward to you, board, is a contract with Renaissance Learning. The software is called EduClimber. And we want to give you a little background about kind of how we got here. The district's been on a 5-year journey reviewing its MTSS process with Ms. Grock and a lot of other people in this room have been part of that process for that time. And during that process, one of the things that was identified was a need to have a piece of software that can meet the variety of different needs for all the different roles within our district. Some of those needs are the ability to look at grades, attendance, guidance, discipline, assessment, et cetera, all in one place. And a need for that data to be able to follow students between grade levels and across sites. And of course, you know, we've been doing this work for 5 years. It was just the Bright Futures project is only within, you know, its first year or so. But this very well walks right into that work and they align just really well. As a matter of fact, with the Brighter Future Project, one of the things we're going to be bringing in is a CASA summative assessment. That's the software you use to actually do the testing to confirm that are we actually meeting the marks that we're setting up. So right now the teachers are involved in the early process of that, where they're going to be identifying, you know, what is the floor? What are those items that we're going to be identifying as a must for every student, every grade level, ELA and math? That CASA summative assessment system that's going to work here with EduClimber is the tool that our students will be on in the next year. And that will fold into EduClimber. So all this is going to play together really nicely. Over the last year or so, we started looking more closely at what the software solution may look like. And so the EduClimber software gives us the ability to have all that data in one place. So we're talking ARIES, our NWA scores, LPAC, ASGI. It provides us data visualization. So yes, you can have access to data, but it can be a lot to look at. And so you often need a way to visualize it to really make sense of it quickly. And so it provides us that tool. I think most importantly, what it does to something we haven't had before is it directly supports the MTSS work. And what's important about that is we already do really good MTSS work. Every week we have teams get together and they do that work, but they're spending a lot of staff time to get that work done, to go out and grab data, bring that data into templates, Google Docs, Google Sheets, and they're spending a lot of time, staff time, to get that done. This tool is going to bring that data to them. And so instead of spending a lot of time working on getting that data, they're going to have that data and get right to the work of what can we do best for our students. I know we have a joint interest of making sure that our practices are research-based and data-driven. One of the really beautiful things about this is for the first time, we're going to see what's happening with our interventions. What interventions are working? How long do they work? Because we're going to be able to collect data we haven't been able to collect before, like who's coming to the interventions, how often are they coming, how engaged are they during that time. If you don't have those pieces of information, it's really hard to know what's working and what's not, and what to put more resources in, and kind of what to back away from. And so with this platform, we're going to be able to do that for the first time. And lastly, the other thing we wanted to make sure we talked about is while we can use, every day we're learning more about our students, and often it's the empirical evidence that helps us identify what student might need additional support. Sometimes we can miss it. And we need a system to be able to help identify those kids who maybe we weren't going to catch, but this data can pull forward. So often we call that like an early warning system. And so that's another way that we'll be using this platform, is to help identify those students that aren't necessarily being just picked up in the class, but they're quietly struggling. They're good students, super polite, all those things, but they're quietly struggling and they need more support. And so with this tool, we'll be able to do a better job of identifying those students and making sure they're getting the same resources as some of the ones that are a little more obvious need the help. So this is a first year with this. We'll be bringing this back next year if this goes well. This is a 1-year commitment at this point. We're here to answer any questions you have.
I guess my only thought is this compiles the data for all 17,100 students that we have.
Yes, it does. And so one of the reasons we know this is going to work really well for us is we've actually had a site using it for a few years, and that's Fessler. And so we've got really good feedback. They were one of the first to actually use the software. It's come a long way since then. So we've been kind of watching, waiting for the MTSS work to get to its place where it was really ready to have this solution for everybody. So absolutely, this solution will absorb all that data. In most cases, nightly, it's going to get updates. And so that every day when teachers get into this work, they always have the latest data available to them.
And who will have access to that information?
So different reports will be available based on your rights and responsibilities at the site. So a teacher can see all of the data for her or his students. A administrator can see all of the data for all of the students at the school. And then at the district level, you can see the entire thing. The other thing that I would add to Mr. Ricky's response is that it does provide us with all of this data, and it gives it to us on multiple levels. So we can view a student and see the entire data wall for that student and see strengths and weaknesses and areas of need. We can also see it by assessment. So we can look after the NWEA window or when we get the CASP results back and be able to quickly see where are our strengths, where do we need more interventions on those particular standards or whatever that assessment is gauging. And then it can also track by teacher or by grade level. So you can look at the data in multiple layers depending on what outcome you want. If you're in a COST or an IEP, you're going to look at it at the student level. If you're in a grade level PLC, you're going to look at it at the grade level. If you're in a district meeting, you're going to look at it perhaps by assessment or by school site.
Wow. Go ahead.
Are there any other systems similar to this that we were able to compare with? And if so, how did we get to this one? And how do we know the costs are reasonable also?
There are several data systems available. So part of the work of the MTSS team as a whole and the subcommittee for this data wall or assessment tracking platform was to evaluate all of the options available. We started with a list of what our must-haves and would like to haves are, and then we vetted all of the programs that we could find that might provide those and asked those publishers to provide us with a list of or a checklist of yes, we do that or no, we don't. So we started with about 12 different platforms. We narrowed it down to 6 that met all of our needs. And then we went back through and started looking at if these 6 have all of the things we must have, how do they do on the things we'd like to have or that would be nice to have? We then narrowed it down to 3 and invited them to do presentations on their software to Brian and I. And then from that, we eliminated one that wasn't going to meet our needs and ended with these 2 who did a full presentation to the MTSS committee in person, demonstrating their software and asking and answering questions. And then that team voted, and it was unanimous that this was the software program that every person in the room wanted. And as far as cost, I'm going to let you speak to that.
Yeah, for sure. And so cost we know was actually more competitive than cooperative purchasing agreements that are out there. So they actually beat what they were required to meet through other agreements based on the relationship that we've had with them through Fessler. So that was really exciting to see. I think maybe another thing kind of under that umbrella too is that we are sunsetting another piece of software. So we've used School City for many years that does about half of these things. And so, and we knew that we would have to move from one to the other. So we are stopping one piece of software and one subscription to add and make room for this one.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that the Board of Education approve the contract with Renaissance Learning as presented.
And I'll second.
It has been moved by Mr. Laura, seconded by Mr. Valencia to approve the contract with Renaissance Learning as presented. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to 11C, approval of contract with Think Together, DBA California Schools Talent Collaborative for VAPA Specialists Vacancy Needs 2025 to 2026 school year. Mrs. Grock.
Good evening again. The Santa Maria Bonita School District is currently experiencing staffing shortages in the hard-to-fill certificated VAPA specialist positions. In order to fully expend our Proposition 28 or Arts and Music in Schools allocation, and so that we can fully support our elementary sites with the VAPA release for PLC model, it is imperative that we secure qualified personnel. Think Together was chosen to ensure that students continue to have access to high-quality arts instruction despite these current staffing shortages, and because they have the resources and expertise to quickly fill vacancies with safe, competent, and skilled professionals. Think Together is the only company that we have knowledge of that offers this teacher fulfillment service. While local organizations such as Youth Arts Alive and Children's Creative Project have access to talented artists, they do not offer the service of fulfilling vacancies with staff who meet the minimum requirements for teaching. They can provide artist in residence services, but those artists are not cleared to work alone with children, and therefore those services do not meet our need to release the classroom teacher for PLC. On the other hand, Think Together does offer fully vetted, fully qualified artists who meet the minimum requirements of both the content knowledge in a VAPA discipline and the certification requirement for, at a minimum, a substitute certificate. So we are bringing this contract forward to you this evening. This will provide for our district in the 25-26 school year up to 3 VAPA specialists to deliver VAPA instruction in grades 1 through 6. The funding comes from Arts and Music in Schools, Prop 28. The billing on this contract is only for actual teaching hours at a rate of $49.41 per hour. And the contract includes a provision with a sliding conversion to staff fee that ranges from $2,000 before 3 months to $0 after 10 months. So what that means is if Think Together brings us a VAPA specialist and they like us and would like to become an SMBSD employee, we pay a sliding scale fee of between $2,000 and $0 based on the time that they decide to make that change to us, so that they then become our employees and exit the contract. And we would no longer be paying the hourly fee for them. So the benefits of this contract are, of course, that students receive equitable access to high-quality VAPA instruction. These instructors will use our scope and sequence and our curriculum so that there is a continuity of services for all students. And of course, this allows our teachers to receive the weekly PLC time that they need to focus on student success. We have begun negotiating this contract, and so Think Together knows that we need 3 people, and they started their initial recruitment. In their initial recruitment, they screened 10 candidates. Those 10 candidates included 3 people who live in Santa Maria, 4 people who live on the Central Coast from Pismo to SLO, and 3 who are not immediately in the Central Coast area but are willing to relocate to our area. And so we are asking that you approve this contract so that we can bring in our last 3 VAPA specialists. Any questions?
Is this the only service of this nature, or were we able to compare other organizations that offer this service?
We looked at other organizations. No one was able to offer us staffing that included meeting the substitute requirements. So lots of contractors and organizations offer the artist side, but not the teacher side. And we needed both. And Think Together is the only one that we have found that does that.
And then how do we assess the rate and how reasonable the rate is?
So we looked at the rate of pay compared to the rate we pay for our staff members. This is a significantly lower rate of pay per hour, along with the fact that we are able to only bill for actual hours taught. So we're not paying them for prep or planning time, any of that. And so in that respect, this is actually less expensive than a VAPA specialist would be to be hired as an SMBSD teacher. We still want teachers. We like having the ability to have them prep and plan and work with us, but in terms of fiscal responsibility, this is a very reasonable rate of pay. And Think Together covers all of the expenses, the insurance, the DOJ, the fingerprinting, all of the employment fees that are associated with their employees.
Thank you.
And where is Think Together located?
Think Together is located actually all over the state of California. They began as a collaborative in Southern California schools, but they actually have satellite offices now all over the state of California. They have a satellite office in Lompoc. They have one in Visalia. So they're everywhere.
Okay, I just had not ever heard of that organization. And
interestingly, Orenda is part of the Think Together collaborative. So our contract with Orenda is also with Think Together.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll go ahead and recommend that the Board of Education approve Think Together DBA California Schools Talent Collaborative for VAPA Specialists Vacancy Needs 2025-2026 school year as presented.
I'll second.
It has been moved by Mr. Valencia, seconded by Mr. Laura, to approve Think Together DBA California Schools Talent Collaborative for VAPA Specialists Vacancy Needs for the 2025-26 school year. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Item 11D, transfer of extensive support needs programs from SBCEO to SMBSD. And I see Dr. Palmerston taking the podium.
Thank you, President Cordero. Good evening, board members, Dr. McDuffie, and our SMBSD educational learning community. I have the honor this evening to present on Armando Uribe's behalf. He should be joining us if we have any questions remotely, and I'll do my best to present in his calm, confident style that we all have seen in the past. So this evening, I will be helping present the approval of the transfer of extensive support needs programs from SBCEO to SMBSD. A little background and notifications about this transfer. Our ESN, or Extensive Needs Support Needs Programs transfer overview includes the fact that on May 15th, we notified the county of what's called a year and a day notification to notify them of our intent to take back services that they currently provide. This specific transition of returning programs to SMBSD schools impacts 3 SMBSD families who are currently served outside of our district by SBCEO programs located outside of our boundaries. The transfer is in support of our district's Bright Future strategic plan. And in particular, our belief of providing inclusive learning environments for all students. It will support expanding inclusive practices and serving students in their neighborhood schools. So what's our timeline and process for this transfer? In 2025-26, this school year, SBCEO continues to serve 3 current students in programs that are in grades 4 through 8. SMBSD continues to serve our students in our medically fragile programs at Bruce Elementary in grades TK to 6. Meetings with families and staff from SBCEO occurred in August of 2025, where meetings were held with the affected families and staff to address questions and concerns and provided detailed information regarding the transition supports. In October, that's today, we're reviewing for board approval this return of programs to SMBSD. And in November, the SELPA will review for board approval from the SELPA JPA. In spring of 2026, we will hold transition meetings with families and staff. And then in 2026, 2027, we will assume full operations of the extensive needs programs for all of the students within our district. Adjustments to programs and key outcomes to support our students that are currently served through SBCEO include our continued ESN program structure at Bruce Elementary for our medically fragile students. And you see kind of an overview of what that program looks like. And then at Tommy Kuntz Junior High, we have one ESN teacher, we have an LVN, 2 instructional assistants that would be adjusted based upon student needs. And those programs would serve up to 8 students and not to exceed 12. The key outcomes for the return of these programs are direct oversight and consistent staffing, increased inclusive practices, and a stronger family engagement. Of course, there is an economic impact, and we're currently paying $333,000 and change to SBCEO for the current services in for the students served through this program. And the estimated costs would include the cost of adding a licensed vocational nurse, LVN, to support the medical needs of these students. And you can see the difference there. Even if there are anticipated or additional support needs that are there, there's an additional difference in the funds that can help accommodate for that change. So with that, it's recommended that the board approve the transfer of extensive support needs ESN programs from SBCEO to SMBSD as presented. If you have any questions, Mr. Armando Uribe will help facilitate those.
Not a question, just like an appreciation. The cost savings look, quite significant. And so I just want to commend our staff for, finding ways to meet the needs of our students and to, save our district some funds as well. So just a shout out to, the team that has worked on this. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you.
What would be an example of a medically fragile student? I think I know, but.
Yeah. He's ready to go. Mr.
Good evening. Yes, students who are part of our medically fragile program are students who have a significant impact due to health conditions. And so they are primarily in an ESN or extensive support needs setting, where we are able to meet their needs with that additional LVN support.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I know we have already had preliminary information, as you alluded to at the beginning. So is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that the Board of Education approve the special education transfer of extensive support needs ESN programs from SBCEO to SMBSD as presented.
And I'll second. Oh.
It has been moved by Mr. Lara, seconded by Mr. Valencia, to approve the special education transfer of extensive support needs programs from SBCEO to SMBSD. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
you, Dr. Palmerston.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Item 11E, Resolution 25-06, Filipino American History Month. Dr. McDuffie.
Thank you, President Cordero. October is nationally recognized as Filipino American Heritage Month, commemorating the first recorded presence of Filipinos in the continental United States in October 1587. Filipino Americans are the second largest Asian American group in the nation and have played a significant role in shaping American history, culture, and society. In honoring this month, we celebrate a rich heritage, diverse traditions, and vital contributions of Filipino Americans in fields including education, healthcare, government, the arts, and the armed forces. It is also a time to recognize the ongoing challenges faced by the Filipino American community and reaffirm our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Would you like to begin, please?
Yes, so we'll be, sure, yeah, I'll be reading the first three paragraphs of our resolution, and then we'll go from there. Whereas, well, let me start from the top. Resolution 20-06, Filipino American History Month, Santa Maria Bonita School District. Whereas October is recognized nationally as Filipino American History Month to honor the first recorded presence of Filipinos in the continental United States on October the 18th, 1587 in Morro Bay, California. And whereas Filipino Americans have made and continue to make significant contributions to the fields of education, government, medicine, and the military, arts, business, and many other areas that strengthen the fabric of American society. And whereas the Filipino American community is the second largest Asian American group in the United States with a rich cultural heritage that reflects the values of family, hard work, respect, and education. And
whereas recognizing Filipino American History Month provides an opportunity for students, staff, and community to learn more about the history of achievements and contributions of Filipino Americans to our nation and to our local community. And to whereas inclusion of Filipino American history supports the district's goals of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging by ensuring that all students see themselves reflected in the curriculum and school culture.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Santa Maria Bonita School District hereby recognizes the month of October 2025 as Filipino American History Month and encourages all schools to engage in age-appropriate activities, curriculum, and celebrations that honor the history and contributions of Filipino Americans.
Ms. Cordero, prior to the motion for the resolution, I just wanted to share how wonderful it is to see this resolution in our packet this week. I've had the privilege of being raised here in the Santa Maria community, and when I was a student at Santa Maria High School and at El Camino, many of my peers in the classroom were of Filipino descent, and that exposed me to diversity that I know I really appreciate to this day. It's partly why I majored in ethnic studies, is because being around a diverse community made me more curious to learn about not just myself, but about those around me. And so I want to commend our staff for bringing this forward. One of the things that I recommended to Dr. McDuffie is seeing if in the future we could bring in some folks from the Filipino community, maybe reaching out to the Filipino Community Center or other community members that can continue to guide our work and how we can continue to improve the education for our students, not just our Filipino students, but for all of our students. And coincidentally, I was listening to a podcast recently. It was by an Asian American woman, and she was talking about how harmful it was to her self-esteem not to see other Asian American women like her in magazines, on television shows. Now she's a major person in social media, is an author. And so it brings me great pride that our district is mindful of this so that all of our young people can see themselves in what they're learning. And so I want to thank our staff for being cognizant of that.
Yes, our staff provided quite a lot of resources to our teachers It's been at least a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sure that is very much appreciated. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make the recommendation that the Board of Education adopt Resolution 25-06, Filipino American History Month as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Valencia,
Aye.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero.
Aye. Motion passes. Discussion items, item 12A, culturally responsive curriculum, Dr. Salcido. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. McDuffie, President Cordero, members of the board. My name is Dr. Salcido, and I'm proud to be here today to discuss with you culturally responsive curriculum. So before I begin taking a deep dive into our curriculum and what we have going on in our schools, I wanted to first start with a framing of culturally responsive as outlined in the book Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain of 2015 by author Zaretta Hammond. Zaretta Hammond talks about the process of using cultural knowledge, prior experiences, and frames of reference to make learning more relevant and effective for students, and how that, in addition to what they see, gives us the frame for how people feel like they are connected and have a sense of belonging. The key aspects of her work in culturally responsive teaching revolve around relationships and trust. So it is about building an environment where students feel safe, they feel connected, and that is required before they can fully engage in deeper learning. It also focuses on scaffolding. This does not include reducing the level of rigor for students, but rather to scaffold where they are to meet those levels of higher order thinking, or ways to engage in a way that is higher than maybe where they are to reach grade level expectations. It also, culturally responsive teaching, uses the students' cultural learning styles and schema as an asset that they bring into the classroom so that they can support their comprehension, problem-solving skills, and transfer of knowledge within the classroom. Finally, culturally responsive teaching increases students' ability to engage in productive struggle. Productive struggle is when a student is faced with a difficult problem and perseveres or works through it. This is a learned skill that needs to be fostered in children, and it helps them to become self-directed learners. Culturally responsive teaching is the educator's ability within the classroom to really leverage the students' cultural ways of being, what they bring to the classroom, their cultural ways of learning, to accelerate their brain's information processing, their memory, and their higher order thinking, or elevating the way that they're being able to think. Being able to provide an environment that's culturally responsive, it ensures that students see themselves within curriculum, provides exposures for students to see others from around the world. It also increases students' ability to have understanding, compassion, and empathy for others, while at the same time increasing students' learner agency. That's that self-motivation to pursue knowledge. So specifically within the curriculum that we have adopted curriculum. Our adopted curriculum comes from the state approved adoption list. Our current ELA adopted program for grades TK through 5th is Benchmark Advanced and Benchmark Adelante for DLI. We've spoken about that a few different times. The benchmark curriculum offers culturally rich texts and diverse perspectives throughout the curriculum that is provided. This ensures that students see themselves represented in the literature. It also has the opportunity to have students be exposed to voices from around the world. There are lessons throughout the benchmark curriculum that support our English learners. When Benchmark Advance was selected from the state adoption list, it was selected because of its scaffolds specifically for English learners, which was a high need of ours. This involves integrated language development strategies throughout the lessons. There are also lessons that provide scaffolds for our English learners in reading, writing, speaking, and listening, which are the 4 main skills. An example of ELA curriculum for the TK through fifth grade in our benchmark advanced is the inclusion of one of our units features the Cesar Chavez Fighting for Farm Workers story, which connects directly to the lived experiences and histories of many of our Hispanic and Latino families. Our adopted ELA curriculum for grades 6, 7, and 8 is a different system. This one is called Study Sync. Again, from the state approved adoption list. Study Sync as our adopted curriculum includes a wide range of culturally diverse texts. It is linguistically varied. That means that there are a variety of language patterns within the text that offer a diverse range of cultural exposures. Students need to be able to hear language in a variety of ways. It also includes multimedia resources. This is unique to the upper grades as students start to engage a little bit more as self-directed learners. This is the ability for students to have a variety of ways to access material and learning that meet their learning needs, whether that is visual, audio, or interactive. There are also in the Study Sync curriculum collaborative activities. Within the junior high level, you start to see the ability for students to engage academically in a verbal exchange between students. So that increase in student engagement activities really helps that let them have that opportunity. The platform encourages critical thinking. Students are asked to look deeply into things and not just take information at surface value. They're encouraged to analyze supporting and contradicting information. Contradicting something that is printed is not a natural skill, and students have to be taught that it's okay to contradict what is there and have a discussion about them. It also supports student voice. That's a really important element in junior high as students are starting to develop what it means to have an opinion. It's okay to have a different opinion than that which is in the text. And so having those opportunities to debate to each other and discuss amongst it to share your opinion helps in create that safe environment that is culturally responsive. It also provides targeted supports for our multilingual learners. An example from our ELA curriculum from the middle school levels is The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. This particular book allows students to explore the themes of identity, culture, and language through literature that really reflects that Hispanic voice and the immigrant experiences displayed in that book. One of our additional adopted materials at the younger grade level is Hegarty, Phonemic Awareness, and UFly. These two additional programs give us that phonemic awareness that our students need to become early readers. These tools are research-based to benefit English learners, which is why we have adopted them. They work to strengthen foundational literacy skill for our youngest readers. These are our super young ones, and they're just learning how to either speak English, and then we want them to be able to read it as well. These two programs really rely on auditory language development. That means that students are hearing and producing sounds orally as a way to practice language. The exercises are very repetitive and very rhythmic, which helps support memory and participation. It's whole group. All of the students are saying all of the sounds at once. And we all know that to say or speak a language is the first way to develop it. But sometimes that can be very uncomfortable. So to say it all as a group kind of makes that feel a little bit easier. And it lets me participate as an early speaker and an early reader at a young grade. This auditory language development process really benefits our ELs and our struggling readers because it doesn't put anyone on the spot, and it's very repetitive in nature. So every morning, every aspect of the day, they get to do the same routines and develop the strength in being able to say those sounds. The implementation of these programs includes, it's very interactive. So I have a sample video here in a minute so you can see what it looks like, but it's very interactive and it keeps the students engaged. Even if they're not able to produce the sounds or they're unsure, you can see them watching and listening until they're comfortable enough to produce those sounds. It does include that daily oral language, as I said. The students work on sound manipulation, and that means that they are producing those sounds. This includes isolation. So if you're looking at a word and you have to isolate a certain sound of the word, that's one of the activities. Blending, how do the sounds come together? And that takes a lot of practice. It includes segmenting. Segmenting is when you take a word and you break it apart. You'll see an example of that. So I was able to say cat, I would say at. Cat is segmenting, and there's phoneme substitution. So I would take a word and I would take a sound out and replace it. So if they said the words cat, take the k and replace it with and you have mat. So they have to start to listen to those sounds. What does a whole word sound like? What is the single phoneme? How do I take it out? And what do I replace it with? And what does that turn into? Very interesting, super fun to watch. If you ever have a time to go into a younger kinder class and watch them do this, it's really fun. It also has elements of decoding and phonics instruction that are accessible for all. So UFly includes a written element, so they're not only hearing it verbally, orally, but they're also writing it down and they're learning how to spell using those segmented sound blocks. And you're going to see an example of that in just a minute. I think we're ready for it. So this first example is Hegarty. So the Hegarty phonemic awareness provides chants, routines. They're very rhythmic. They're very engaging. They're super short. And so I'm going to skim through this video just a little bit. This is an entire lesson. You don't want to see an entire lesson, but it is only 5 minutes. So 5 minutes every day, students are being able to engage in this very safe, very supportive way for them to start to gain language and become early readers. So here you go. I'm going to skip ahead here. So she is explaining that the rhyming words, that she's going to give them 2 words. Thumbs up is it rhymes, thumbs down is it doesn't. That's an example of that rhyming one. I'm going to skip ahead to she's saying by the rhyming words. Now they're going to do the roller coaster hand. So she's going to explain that the sounds follow the hand and they're going to figure out what the middle sound is. So here are the kids sounding out a word and they're finding out what that middle sound is, which should be at the top of the roller coaster.
Nut. One.
So it's a combination of both producing the sound, they're listening to the teacher, they're producing the sound, and they're having to isolate that center sound. And they pair it with those hand motions to help keep kids engaged. This is called segmenting. So she is bringing out the word and they're chopping it up into sounds.
Ready? We are going to add the beginning sound to the.
Okay, so now she's breaking the word apart and they're adding a new beginning sound. And they put it together. So she gives them the ending sound, adds a beginning sound, and they put it together into a word.
We have. Good. Remember.
And that one is taking away a sound. So she gives them the whole word. We take away the first sound, and then what do they have left? So they're having to identify those elements of the sounds of the word.
We have. Rock. Without the. We have.
This next example is from UFly. So UFly has the written component as well. So you're going to have the audio, the oral component, but you're also going to have students trying to start decoding. So they're going to start writing down the sounds that they have identified with a letter, and so they can try to spell a word. And so you'll see every student being engaged, very engaging. It's opportunities for all students to practice at the same time, this encoding. It really increases engagement and participation. You'll see there's a lot of perseverance. So if they are unsure, the teacher encourages them to keep on trying. So watch the little kids as they try to spell a couple words.
Yeah. Okay. Burn. The flat. Yeah, good. Okay, next one. Heard. 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 How many sounds? Three. So how many boxes? Three.
So you heard her say the word. She sounds it out using her fingers, and the kids all do it with her. Heard. How many sounds? 3. Now they have to put it into 3 different boxes because the ER is a blend. Is one sound, even though it's 2 letters. And you can see she's got it right, and they're all working. Then they'll show the words and then try another word. So then when she says the next word, listen to how the kids all sound it out and count on their fingers to see how many sounds.
Check your word. Did you get that? Heard. Keep living a herd. Okay, next one. Ooh, tricky. Winter. Winter. What? Winter. Winter. So how many sounds is that? Let's try that again. What? Five.
So you heard someone got it wrong. They weren't quite sure. They blended 2 sounds that shouldn't have been blended. So she had them count again. And the kids all counted to find that there were 5 sounds in the word winter.
Winter.
Again, because ER makes 1 sound, so it's in 1 box together.
And if you couldn't have winter.
I could watch those all day. They're so adorable. Moving on to math. So our math curriculum for our younger grades, our adopted math curriculum from the state adopted list is iReady for grades K through 5. Culturally responsive curriculum should include the element of making learning meaningful. It should be connected to life so that kids see the relevance in it. It also should be able to increase students' abilities to engage in productive struggle, like I had said earlier. So examples of that in our iReady curriculum. 1, iReady provides adaptive instruction. So it meets students' needs where they are and then pushes them to the next level to achieve those growth goals. Also, it integrates culturally relevant problem-solving context. You probably remember in math, you have word problems. So bringing in culturally relevant words to expose students to various cultures within math problems. It also connects math to real-world application that's really familiar to students. So it tries to do things that are relevant in their family dynamics or things that they are experienced with, so that makes it more meaningful and relevant to them. Here are a few examples from that K through 5th grade iReady math curriculum. Connect to Culture is an element within the textbook where the teacher's edition explains for the teacher how to engage in a conversation around something that's culturally relevant within the word problem. So we're not just assuming that the teachers know the context, but rather the book explains it to them so they can bring that in. It is built into the daily slides that guide the lesson, so there's additional information for teachers to share. Here are some examples. So this one is number sense. This is a kindergarten example from our kindergarten book. This is a notice and wonder. So with the student voice, this is culturally relevant because it increases the student's ability to engage verbally with the information. Students are supposed to talk about what they see in the picture. There are nopales or cactus stems, so the teacher talks through that. Chile rellenos or stuffed peppers, tortillas and cilantro. They're supposed to count how many nopales there are in each group, how many nopales are there in all. So they're adding them together while using things that maybe they either haven't been exposed to or are familiar with them. This is a 2nd grade word problem. This word problem says, Marta and her mom use 15 tomatillos to make salsa verde. Marta peels 7 tomatillos and her mom peels the rest. How many tomatillos does her mom peel? So giving them just different types of word problems that are still math related. Third grade, here's an example from our third grade book. This is solving and showing your work. This problem reads, Mr. Rivera makes Mexican Talavera bowls. Out of 355 bowls, he has painted 223 bowls so far. So how many bowls does Mr. Rivera still need to paint? And each one of these comes with an explanation in the teacher's edition for the teacher to engage in a conversation around the cultural significance and history behind each of these elements. Another third grade example, this is learning about area. Students are asked to talk about how they could measure the area of a Zapoteca rug. And the cultural connect section of the teacher's edition, there's an explanation of the Zapotec rug to support teachers in facilitating this conversation about it. And students have to learn how to measure that. In fifth grade, they're learning how to read a decimal in a word form. This problem reads, Rico buys dried chilies to make adobe sauce. The dried chilies weigh 0.604 pound. How does Rico say the weight of the chilies aloud? And they have to explain their thinking. So students talk through it. What do you say? How does it read? Fifth grade example. This is calculating the difference in distance measurements. This cultural connect before this lesson explains the significance of Cinco de Mayo and has a discussion element for students to contribute prior to learning the word problem. And the word problem is all about a child walking in a Cinco de Mayo parade. She's walked so far, the parade is so much further, and they start looking at finding the difference in distance based on what she's already walked. All right. Our adopted math curriculum in grades 6 through 8 is mid-school math. You heard a little bit about mid-school math last year when our students started engaging some really great research. You'll see in a second. A reminder, culturally responsive curriculum should provide the opportunity to increase engagement through connecting math with their life. So how does the content connect directly to students' lives? It also should support students to become self-directed learners. So taking on that initiative, it's relevant enough that I want to pursue learning more on my own. That's a culturally responsive classroom. Mid-school math provides storytelling and problem-based learning. So we've talked about this before, that a unit is all about a story. The story provides a math problem. Students have to dig into the math problem in order to solve the problem that's in the story. And it's really engaging. These situate math in meaningful, culturally inclusive contexts that really are everyday life. It really encourages students to see that math is part of their everyday life, and it also helps them see that it's relevant to their future success as well. So it's relevant to their daily life, but it also connects it to their future opportunities. Why knowing math is important. It's not just problems on a page, it's not just a worksheet, but it's actually relevant to everyday life. Here are some examples from our mid-school math curriculum. Again, these are all lessons designed as story-based, problem-solving experiences. They're really from around the world. One example, one of the units follows students from Cape Town, South Africa, as they analyze the decline in the population of African penguins in South Africa. And there's an example of those students from Cape Town, South Africa. If you remember, this Big Ideas series in mid-school math included lots of different elements in the units. Other locations for these word problems center around math stories in areas such as Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Tokyo, Japan. And of course, we have our own students as stars as a unit within these lessons. The Santa Maria Bonita students participated last year in this filming. There are a few behind-the-scene pictures from them. You all got to see the trailer of the upcoming lessons that are in classrooms this year. But their lessons focused on agriculture, the redwood forests, and sailing in a bay. Our science curriculum. So our science curriculum, remember now that culturally responsive curriculum should inspire learner agency. It should inspire kids to take ownership of that learning and want to pursue it more. It really should validate their participation and their engagement and inspire that ownership of their learning. It should connect science to their home and their school. So it should be community related. All of the science lessons do begin with a phenomenon, and the phenomenon in these instances are very much related to their community. This makes learning more relevant and meaningful to their everyday lives. This includes, how does our science curriculum meet these expectations? Lots of hands-on learning. So like I said, a lesson in science leads with a phenomenon that sparks that curiosity. Why does that happen? And students need to be curious enough to investigate and figure it out. This empowers our students to share their own knowledge and experiences and their observations. So students aren't just told why something happens in science, they get to explore it. They get to have opportunities to talk about it. They get to predict, which really is the hook to spark that curiosity in science. Oops, let me go back. It also helps them learn to ask questions about why something happens. And we really want to develop in that learner agency of a culturally responsive classroom. We want them to have the desire to find answers, to not just sit and accept information, but to ask and to question and to find those answers. Because if they're able to do that and connect the learning to their life, they will be lifelong learners. Some examples from our science curriculum. So the use of phenomenons, here's one example in 5th grade. The phenomenon or problem in this lesson is water scarcity and drought. So the module's anchor phenomenon centers on water management and the challenges of water. This is really a California specific, so culturally relevant, and that is the area that we live in. Drought is a major issue that we have. In this instance, students might be shown the picture on the far left of wilting plants and ask the question, what might cause that? What causes the plant to wilt and die? And they have to start talking about it and trying to figure out why that might happen. Then they get to learn about the water cycles and drought, so they can understand that learning. It's very community relevant because our area is more prone to drought than, say, floods. And so it makes it relevant to what they know. By focusing on local issues, such as this, they can start to see what is affecting the world around them, including our own agriculture. Students then go on to investigate the Earth systems, cycles, and human impacts on things such as drought. The unit concludes with students being asked to think like an engineer and come up with ideas that they think could contribute to their community in water conservation. So what might you do to help with water conservation in your community? So really empowering them to be advocates in their own community. All right. In addition to our adopted curriculums, we also have our library collections, which are supplemental, and we can add additional things to that. We've had some library collection goals as a district over the last few years. These goals are that our library collections will reflect, validate, and celebrate the diverse backgrounds, experiences, and identities of readers. This has been really made apparent by the board last year when we did a very big purchase to increase our library collections. You're going to see the results of that now. We really wanted to build collections where every student can find themselves represented. And again, culturally responsive is not just seeing myself, but also having the opportunity to see others from around the world so that I can gain, as a student, a better understanding and empathy for others. That's that next bullet point. I'm just saying them before I even put them up there. Currently, 35% of our collections represent diverse titles. And we're able to pull that number because the library collection is something that we audit and have track of. So we're able to find those numbers. What are we doing to continuously achieve this goal? Because we're not done yet. There's still more work to do. One, we're identifying gaps that need to be filled. So looking to see where those gaps lie. Are there certain schools that don't have as many diverse books? What books are missing in our catalogs so that we can increase those? It's also important for us to identify and replace outdated and stereotypical materials. This is the work of our library clerks, and they're doing a fantastic job. It's called weeding, and so they go into the library and they take out all of those old materials that maybe are just outdated in their thinking or their presentation of information or stereotypical in nature, and they need to be removed from our collection. Weeding also lets the more relevant books stand out to students. They're not just hidden in the mass of many books, but it really brings forward the books that the new books that are of interest to students. We also use demographic data from the schools to ensure that all students are represented, not just some, but all. Here's some examples from our library collections. On the left, you have Frizzy. So Frizzy is about a young girl who is tired of going to the salon every week to have her curls straightened. Marlene slowly learns to embrace her natural curly hair with the help of her best friend and her favorite aunt. On the right, you have a book called El Defo. It's a graphic novel that follows the life of a young student who had, through some childhood experiences, loses majority of their hearing and has to wear hearing aids, and what she has to deal with in school as far as other students not accepting her or not understanding her different challenges. Here are some more examples. On the left is Separate is Never Equal. This is a historic fiction book, so it provides a kind of a cartoon version of some historic court cases on equality. So this is actually years before that U.S. Supreme Court ruling of Brown versus Board. This is Sylvia Mendez. She's an 8-year-old girl from with Mexican and Puerto Rican heritage, and she was part of the Mendez versus Westminster landmark desegregation case in California. So it's a fantastic way for students to learn history from the viewpoint of the child. On the right, there's a book called Crossover. This is about 14-year-old twins who play basketball, but they are struggling with some home life issues where their father is has some declining health issues. So they have a lot of trauma going on at home and how they deal with it. Overall, just a kind of look at adopted materials versus supplemental materials. So went over a lot of our different adopted materials. So adopted materials are in our core subjects. So you've got English, math, science, history that are all adopted. In order for it to be adopted curriculum, it must be on the state adopted list. We are required as a public school district to adopt from that list. And it has to align with state standards. So we can't just pick anything that we want. We have to pick from that list that is vetted and approved to meet those standards. Supplemental materials, on the other hand, such as our library collections, we have a lot more leverage with. So we are able to review and approve internally those materials that we're able to give to our students in that supplemental fashion. And we can select those to meet students' need and fill gaps. So this is a high leverage point for us where we can act more quickly and include books quicker for students because it is supplemental materials. So overall, through the adoption of high quality instructional materials, it is our goal as a district to provide culturally and linguistically responsive teaching. In addition to the materials, the adopted materials are what we have to adopt, but you learn throughout this presentation that a culturally responsive curriculum is more than just the book in front of you, but it's the environment, it's how we present it, it's how we treat our students. We really want students to be able to see themselves and others represented in our curriculum. So it's that valuing the individual, which is just timely as our belief in that everyone has a voice and can contribute and they belong. It's all about building relationships and trust to foster understanding. Students have to feel valued in class. They have to feel understood in order to contribute and learn. It also has to increase students' ability to engage in that productive struggle. Productive struggle, as I said earlier, is the ability to meet a hard, difficult problem head on and persevere. It's okay to get something wrong. It's okay to fail at something. It's all about how we respond to that and move on. That makes us a good learner. And then it also has to support and meet or exceed those academic standards because we want our students to achieve those state level rigor expectations. We have to balance those two. So our focus is on raising student achievement while also building confidence, belonging, and engagement for all of our learners. With that, I would be open to some questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciated some of the examples, that, many of us can't see because we're not in the classroom most of the time with our students.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Earlier today, Ms. Duran was mentioning a concern around specifically benchmark and the lack of representation of young women and the lack of representation of people of color. Have you all done any research around that to see if that, if that's the case?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I did a little bit of research online to see if there were any outside vetted agencies who have conducted this work specifically on Benchmark Advance, our ELA adopted curriculum. The difficulties that most companies have said are lack of, one, quantifying what is diverse and what is not, because there is not a clear view of what that is. So it's hard to quantify something when we all have differing opinions of that. That being said, it is our adopted curriculum now. It's on the state adopted list, but the next state adoption list for ELA comes out in the next couple of years, which at that time we'll be able to review all of the new curriculum and come up with a potentially better choice if we don't feel like this one is meeting our needs.
Yeah, thank you for that, because that would be pretty concerning, right? Is if we're intentional about, making sure that our curriculum is diverse and reflects our students. But that ratio that you mentioned, right? I think it was 21-1, I think, people of color compared to white, and then 3-1, men represented compared to women. That's a pretty significant, gap. So I definitely would like us to look a little bit more into that to ensure that, that our curriculum is as diverse as we want it to be. In the past, or can you tell me a little bit about teacher feedback and vetting? Were teachers involved in this process at all in selecting these materials?
Absolutely, yeah. So when we go through a full adoption cycle, this Benchmark Advance we've had for a long time. So the last cycle we had was, I think, 8 years ago. When we go through a full piloting, we have to, one, take the state list that is coming out. It will come out in a couple of years. We narrow that down to those that we want to pilot. We take an entire group of teachers from across the entire district who then pilot the materials and then give feedback. So it's a whole year-long process where we pilot an entire unit in each of the curriculums. They get feedback from teachers, talk through it, and then have the teachers vote. There are requirements that the state puts out for an adoption cycle, including teacher participation and feedback, including the chance for parent and community feedback. Those are all requirements by the state.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. And then I would just say, if I could please get some follow-up data, either through a weekly update regarding that specific concern that Ms. Duran had brought up. I'd really appreciate that to see, what is the actual level of diversity currently within the benchmark curriculum.
Okay, that doesn't exist out on the internet right now or any vetted companies. So it would just be a matter of a person reading the book and counting what they think is a number. So I'll have to look in.
Yeah, we'll work on that, see what we can provide for you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then lastly, I appreciate you providing us concrete data around, currently, I think you said our library materials are 35% diverse. And so what is our, I know you mentioned we're identifying gaps right now. So what is our plan to make improvements in that area?
Yeah, every year we're working to advance that. The increase from the last 2 years is significant. So already this fall, the libraries, half of our libraries have been weeded in order to make room for new materials, and we continue to order every year. We just did another order this fall in order to add additional materials, and those are always all diverse books, so that we can continue to increase that percentage. So we won't stop. We'll just keep on going. And it's every year we weed and get new books to make sure that we're meeting the needs. Our library staff also, they review the circulation of items. So what are kids checking out? What is missing to identify those gaps? And then we fill those gaps as we identify them.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Salcedo. Thank you very much. Very informative. And I think the only thing I would add to that is that, with the addition of quite a number of new titles for every teacher's classroom library, having taught for so many years, it is always at the discretion of the teacher for read alouds or select books from their library to do a variety of different activities. So textbooks may not be representative of everything, but we also need to keep in mind the processes that we want to build within our students, the thinking, the problem solving, the, moving toward making things better. So
Absolutely.
I think we're on the right track.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, any new business? Oh, yes, I acknowledge receipt of all of that information from regarding culturally responsive curriculum. Thank you. New business.
Yeah, for new business, we had in the past received an update for ethnic studies and kind of how things are going with our ethnic studies program, the students that are enrolled, the supports that teachers are getting, how we're planning on improving that program. So that's something that I would like to request on a future agenda.
Okay, Mr. Lara? All right, and I don't have anything at this time either. So board reports?
I just want to give a shout out to our custodial staff. I know recently we celebrated National Custodian Day, and I did see some images of our custodians, and I really want to appreciate them. I know I personally highly benefited, from the custodial staff at El Camino. One in particular, Luis, really took me under his wing. He even took me to 5K races, even helped me to pay for those 5K races out of his own pocket. And that helped me when I got to high school, get into cross country and be able to enjoy that. So I really want to give a major shout out to our custodial staff, who I know, in addition to, cleaning up and keeping our campuses beautiful, also are developing relationships with students and with families, and many of them live in our community. And so I just want to give them major props to our custodial staff and say thank you. I also wanted to give a shout out to one of our teachers, and please forgive me if I mispronounce the last name. It's band teacher Jessica Husselstein. Did I get that correct? Who applied for a grant with the Santa Barbara Bowl Foundation, and she ended up getting 12 drums for our students, a gift that is worth approximately $17,933. And so I know just from personal experience, being a teacher is hard enough, and then on top of that, making time to apply for grants is more time and more energy. So major props to Ms. Husselstein for submitting that grant and for bringing those resources to our students. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, I had the opportunity to attend the PK graduation at Ariana's elementary school yesterday with Miss Zambo, and it was a great little turnout. She had a great little graduating class of 20 parents. I spoke a little, but the guest speaker, Margarita Bucio, gave an excellent speech on her as she arrived here from Mexico and how she went through the PK program and her children, and she was very supportive of all the parents, and she spoke really well and from her heart, and I thought that was really, really beautiful, and I commended her on her speech. But yeah, it was really nice.
Thank you. After our last board meeting, both my husband and I supported the barbecue event at El Camino, along with the BACA Youth event at the Boys and Girls Club that evening. On the 26th, there was a forum at the Boys and Girls Club where many representatives from the community organizations got together to really talk about, what are the continuing needs of the children within our community. And I think probably what rose to the surface the most was the need for childcare for our youngest children in the community. But it was a lot of good information was shared, and it sounds like the organizations that are out there are trying to collaborate and work together to try to make more of that happen. On the 30th, there was a middle school committee. We have talked about creating middle schools for the past several years, and it will be several more years before we will actually get to any kind of implementation. But considering the needs at a specific school site, talking about some of the curriculum, trying to anticipate what the needs will be is really the purpose of this committee, so that once it does finally happen, we will have already taken the steps necessary to make a smooth transition. I've been to a couple of more volleyball games at a couple of our junior high campuses. I tried going to the youth flag football, and all of the games are held over on the field. It says Manami Center, but it's the big field across the street that is really adjacent to Adams School. They've made 4 fields there, and parking is not easy. So that afternoon, I was way too exhausted to walk a mile to get to see the game. Again, I've tried to continue my participation in learning more about the PLC process at Fessler and at El Camino. And then last Thursday was our monthly Santa Barbara County School Board Association meeting. And really one of the topics that rose kind of to the top of the discussion was even in some of our very smaller communities, especially, around Solvang and Buellton, and we have quite a grouping of small districts in there, but there has been quite a bit more development with new housing and such, and not a lot of consideration for places to build the new schools that are going to be needed. So I think we're going to explore that topic a little bit further. And, everybody kind of just looked and, we're all like going, yeah, that is. And even, Santa Maria has a very significant growth plan in the works. And I just know that if we aren't part of that, where to build more schools will not become part of that conversation. And it will create an even more challenging situation than one of our parents and teachers referred to tonight regarding class sizes and all of that kind of thing. On that same day, Orenda was in our district making grade level presentations, looking at standards. We're starting with the ELA. I ended up with the 4th grade group, and I got the big picture and understand what we're going to do. So I think I'm going to stick with that cohort and participate all the way through that process, because ultimately it will lead to alignment of the standards that we're going to concentrate on, things that we might use to make that happen, and common assessments that we can use across the district to help us measure progress that we're making. Last weekend was the Cruisin' for Life event that's going on for a while in our community, and it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and the events that occur in our community that support our cancer patients are special for me as a survivor, and we recently acquired an antique vehicle. So my husband and I drove in the cruise on Friday night and then participated in the car show and of course the dinner and auction in the evening. It was another very successful event and well attended, and a lot of support from within our community as always. Monday was the teacher induction advisory, and Shelley Hart and her team have been preparing for the state review of the program to be certified. Is that the correct term? To continue to make sure that they meet all of the requirements and guidelines to be able to continue to support our teacher residents that we now have quite a number of, which is very exciting. The majority from within our own district. And you mentioned grants earlier, Mr. Valencia, and I think I've mentioned before that the Altrusa group that I belong to, we give teacher grants, and we've gone to giving them out only once a year so that teachers can use the money early enough to buy whatever they want for their class to use for this academic year. And we budgeted for 40, which is not really as many as we would like to be able to do, but we too have a budget. And our committee met last night for several hours to review 112 applications to narrow it down to 40. So those teachers will be contacted in the next 10 days or so. So it's been pretty busy.
All right, thank you, President Cordero. I only have a few things. New playgrounds are now open at Rice School, and we're excited to have another school with improvements complete. These additions at Rice include a larger kindergarten playground with a fresh green space, and the new upper grade playground with 16 swings could be the largest in the district. Principal Tiffany Crane joked that the soccer fields at Rice have never been emptier. Ethnic studies and Spanish elective students from all 4 of our junior high schools and Jimenez enjoyed a live performance Monday at the Santa Barbara Bowl at Las Cafeteras. There were 2,000 students in all from across the county who attended this event. It was put on in partnership between the SBCEO, the county office's Children's Creative Network, and the Santa Barbara Bowl. And we'll have some photos and videos to share from this experience. So stay tuned. Check out our district social media, please. And then finally, just want to invite everyone out, families and community members, to attend our LCAP community workshop. And provide input on our local control accountability plan. That's going to be on Thursday, October 16th, from 6 to 7:30 here at Sousa Center. And that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Just the experience of going to something at the Santa Barbara Bowl is a wonderful experience for anyone. It is so unique in its design and the feeling that you get when you are there. So outdoor theater is much more enticing in many ways. So a lot of fun. I'm very happy for those kids that were able to do that. I'm sure it was a once in a lifetime experience. So we do not have another board meeting until November 12th. And with that, are there any other questions or comments? Then I will declare us adjourned.